By 3 in the afternoon on August 28, 1990, the air over northern Illinois felt unnaturally heavy. High school athletes were preparing for practice and families were finishing their day, completely unaware that the atmosphere above them was breaking all the rules. Meteorologists believed such violent tornadoes could not form under those conditions. The atmosphere was capped, locked down by a layer of warm, dry air that should have prevented any severe storms. But August 28th would prove that nature does not always follow the textbook. How does an F5 tornado, the most violent force on Earth, spawn from conditions that should have made it impossible? The town of Plainfield, Illinois, had long existed in relative meteorological obscurity. Established in 1834 by James Walker, the community had grown steadily into a quintessential Midwestern suburb with around 13,000 residents by 1990. Located approximately 35 miles southwest of Chicago, Plainfield residents believed they lived in a geographic safe zone. The prevailing wisdom was that Chicago's proximity to Lake Michigan created a protective buffer against violent tornadoes. Historical records showed only minor tornado activity in the area's 150-year history, with nothing remotely approaching F5 intensity. This perceived immunity shaped the community's preparedness. Unlike towns in traditional Tornado Alley, states like Oklahoma and Kansas, Plainfield had no comprehensive tornado warning system. The town lacked emergency sirens specifically designed for tornado warnings, and weather radio adoption was minimal among residents. The community's emergency response infrastructure was primarily oriented toward floods, winter storms, and other more expected Midwestern hazards. August 28, 1990, began as an unusually humid late summer day. The morning forecast from the National Weather Service mentioned only a slight chance of thunderstorms, nothing that would raise alarm. Weather technology in 1990 had significant limitations compared to today's systems. The Chicago area was monitored by WSR-57 radar, equipment designed in the 1950s that could not detect wind rotation within storms and could only measure precipitation intensity. Additionally, the nearest National Weather Service office was in Chicago, with forecasters focused on multiple counties and lacking localized awareness of conditions developing in Plainfield. The atmospheric setup that day broke numerous meteorological rules. Typically, violent tornadoes require specific ingredients: a powerful jet stream, strong directional wind shear, abundant moisture, and atmospheric instability. While some of these elements were present, others were conspicuously absent. Most significantly, a warm layer of air several thousand feet up, known as a cap, should have prevented thunderstorms from developing at all. According to the meteorological textbooks of 1990, no tornado, let alone an F5, should have been impossible under these conditions. At approximately 3:15 in the afternoon, what meteorologists now classify as a hybrid supercell, combining characteristics of both low precipitation and high precipitation supercells, began forming southwest of Plainfield. By 3:30 in the afternoon, the tornado touched down near Oswego, quickly intensifying to catastrophic F5 strength as it approached Plainfield. With winds estimated at over 300 miles per hour, it carved a path of devastation 16.4 miles long and up to 1.5 miles wide. The tornado's timing compounded its deadliness. Striking during a weekday afternoon in August, it hit precisely when school activities were underway and when many residents were beginning their commute home. Plainfield High School was directly in the tornado's path, with numerous students and staff inside for afternoon activities and sports practices. Nearby Plainfield Elementary School also stood directly in the tornado's trajectory. The physical impact was unprecedented for the region. The tornado completely obliterated Plainfield High School, reducing much of the structure to its foundation. St. Mary Immaculate Catholic Church, a historic landmark built in 1886, was demolished in seconds. The Plainfield Elementary School suffered catastrophic damage. In residential areas, entire neighbourhoods were flattened, with homes not merely damaged, but completely removed from their foundations. As the tornado continued northeastward, it maintained its intensity. The tornado struck with incredible intensity. In Crest Hill, it devastated a shopping centre and the Crest Hill Lakes apartment complex, causing numerous fatalities. By the time the tornado finally dissipated near Le Mans, it had left a level of devastation that would have been unimaginable to Illinois residents just hours earlier. The final toll was staggering. 29 people were dead, including 3 students at Plainfield High School. More than 350 people were injured, many critically. The property damage exceeded $165 million, approximately $400 million in today's terms, with over 1,000 buildings destroyed or severely damaged. But perhaps most devastating was the psychological impact. A community that had never considered tornadoes a significant threat suddenly found itself at the epicenter of one of the most violent twisters ever recorded in the United States. It was like a war zone. Nothing was recognizable. Street signs, landmarks, everything was gone. You couldn't tell where you were even if you had lived there your entire life. That is how John Martinez, a Plainfield resident and tornado survivor, described the aftermath. Accounts from survivors paint a picture of confusion, terror, and disbelief. Many describe the unusual appearance of the storm. Unlike the classic funnel cloud depiction of tornadoes, the Plainfield tornado presented as a massive wall of rain, dust, and debris. This rain-wrapped appearance made it nearly invisible to many people in its path until it was upon them. At Plainfield High School, coach Ken Skirtich's split-second decision saved 107 lives. Skirtich later recalled that he saw the pressure drop and felt the building shake. Something told him to get everyone into the interior hallway immediately. Within seconds, the gymnasium where they had just been practicing was completely gone. The section of hallway where the football team took shelter became known as the Miracle Hallway, the only part of that wing that remained standing after the tornado passed. 12-year-old Jennifer Hodges was among the youngest survivors to provide a detailed account. She said the sky turned this weird greenish-yellow colour. Her mother was still at work, and she was home alone. She remembered the pressure in her ears changing suddenly, like when you drive up a mountain. Then the windows exploded inward. She only survived because she was in the bathtub with a mattress over her, just like her parents had taught her. Emergency responders described scenes of unimaginable devastation. Paramedic Thomas Buban arrived minutes after the tornado passed. He said that in 17 years of emergency medicine, he had never seen anything like it. Cars were wrapped around trees. Responders found a piece of straw embedded in a telephone pole like a dart. The human toll was the worst part, finding victims in places you would not expect. Some were carried hundreds of yards from where they had been when the tornado hit. Weather forecasters, caught completely off guard by the tornado, faced intense scrutiny. Richard Wagenmaker, a National Weather Service meteorologist, said the storm broke every rule in our meteorological textbooks. The atmospheric cap that day should have prevented any severe thunderstorms from developing. What happened in Plainfield forced us to reevaluate our entire understanding of tornado formation in the Midwest. Perhaps most haunting were the accounts of the tornado's sound. Nearly every survivor mentioned the distinctive roar. Crest Hill resident Margaret Kohler explained it was not like a train, as people always say. It was deeper, more like standing next to a jet engine. You felt it in your chest more than heard it with your ears. That sound still haunts survivors' nightmares. In the immediate aftermath, the response was hampered by several factors. With no tornado warning issued before impact, emergency services were caught unprepared. Communication systems quickly became overwhelmed as the scope of the disaster became apparent. The destruction of key infrastructure, including police and fire stations, in the tornado's path further complicated response efforts. Despite these challenges, the community's reaction was remarkable. Neighbours became first responders, pulling survivors from rubble. Official help could arrive. Local construction companies volunteered heavy equipment to clear debris and search for victims. Area hospitals initiated mass casualty protocols, with medical professionals working around the clock to treat the injured. Sandra Kay, a registered nurse whose own home was damaged, transformed her partially standing garage into an impromptu triage centre. People were showing up with injuries ranging from minor cuts to life-threatening trauma, she recalled. I used whatever I had, first aid kits, household supplies, even torn bed sheets for bandages. We stabilised at least 17 people before ambulances could reach us. Within hours, the response expanded dramatically. The Illinois National Guard deployed to secure damaged areas and assist with search and rescue. The American Red Cross established emergency shelters at undamaged schools and churches in neighbouring communities. By nightfall, a coordinated disaster response was underway, though challenges remained due to widespread power outages and blocked roads. For those who lost homes, the community opened its doors. People we barely knew offered us their spare bedrooms, said Robert Jensen, whose family home was completely destroyed. A local hotel owner gave rooms to 12 families for free. The high school principal, whose own home was gone, was organising housing for displaced students while standing in the rain wearing borrowed clothes. The institutional response also evolved rapidly. Within 24 hours, FEMA representatives were on site assessing damage and coordinating federal assistance. President George H.W. Bush declared Will County a federal disaster area on August the 29th, just one day after the tornado. This declaration unlocked crucial federal resources for both immediate relief and long-term recovery. Insurance companies established mobile claims centres in parking lots of surviving businesses. Many adjusters, recognising the scale of devastation, expedited claims processing and provided immediate funds for temporary housing and essential supplies. Local banks offered emergency loans and payment deferrals for affected residents. Religious organisations played a crucial role in the response. Churches from surrounding communities coordinated donation drives, collecting everything from clothing and food to building materials. Volunteer. Cleanup crews, organised through faith-based networks, helped clear debris from hundreds of properties, allowing the rebuilding process to begin more quickly. The Plainfield tornado fundamentally transformed how the United States approaches tornado detection, forecasting, and warning systems. Its most significant legacy was exposing critical gaps in the nation's weather infrastructure, particularly the inadequacy of 1950s-era radar technology for detecting tornadoes. Within 18 months of the disaster, Congress accelerated funding for the nationwide deployment of NEXRAD Doppler systems. These advanced radars could detect rotation within thunderstorms, the precursor to tornado formation, giving forecasters precious additional minutes of warning time. The National Weather Service also restructured its operations in response to lessons learned from Plainfield. Rather than relying on distant regional, in the wake of the disaster, the National Weather Service established more localized weather forecast offices with responsibility for smaller geographic areas. This change allowed meteorologists to develop deeper knowledge of local weather patterns and provide more targeted forecasts and warnings. The concept of tornado impossible regions was permanently abandoned. Meteorologists now acknowledge that under the right conditions, violent tornadoes can occur virtually anywhere in the United States, even in areas with no significant tornado history. This recognition led to expanded tornado preparedness programs nationwide, including areas previously considered at low risk. For emergency management, the Plainfield disaster highlighted the importance of having tornado-specific response protocols in every community, regardless of historical tornado frequency. Will County completely revamped its emergency operations plan, creating detailed tornado response procedures and conducting regular drills. This model was adopted by counties throughout the Midwest. The tragedy also revolutionized school safety protocols. The Plainfield Plan became a template for school tornado preparedness nationwide, emphasizing regular drills, designated shelter areas, and clear communication systems. Architectural standards for new school construction were enhanced to include reinforced safe rooms, capable of withstanding tornadic winds. For the meteorological community, Plainfield prompted intensive research into atypical tornado formation. Scientists discovered that the atmospheric cap that should have prevented the tornado actually contributed to its extreme intensity by allowing tremendous energy to build up before finally breaking through. Public education about tornadoes underwent a significant expansion. Weather radio programs received federal funding to make weather alert radios more affordable and accessible. The distinction between watch and warning was clarified through public information campaigns, ensuring citizens understood the difference between tornado potential and an imminent tornado threat. Perhaps most importantly, Plainfield's legacy includes the development of what meteorologists now call warn-on detection protocols. Rather than waiting for multiple confirming factors before issuing tornado warnings, forecasters now err on the side of caution, issuing warnings based on initial radar signatures or even a single reliable eyewitness report. This philosophy, that false alarms are preferable to missed warnings, has saved countless lives in subsequent decades. The rebuilt community of Plainfield itself stands as a living legacy. Modern tornado-resistant construction methods were incorporated into many new buildings. Memorial parks honouring the 29 victims serve as places of reflection and education. The high school, completely rebuilt and reopened in 1993, includes a memorial hall documenting both the tragedy and the community's resilience in its aftermath. Today, Plainfield hosts an annual weather preparedness fair that draws participants from across the Midwest. The event combines solemn remembrance with practical education, ensuring that newer residents understand both the historical significance of August 28, 1990, and the importance of ongoing tornado preparedness. As meteorologist Greg Carbon of the Storm Prediction Center observed on the 25th anniversary of the disaster, the Plainfield tornado changed everything about how we approach severe weather forecasting. Those 29 lives lost in 1990 have saved thousands more in the years since, as the lessons learned that day continue to inform and improve our warning systems. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the Plainfield tornado of 1990. If you found this valuable, please hit that subscribe button and join the Tornado Attacks community. We bring you the most comprehensive extreme weather coverage on YouTube. Leave a comment with your thoughts or experiences with severe weather, and do not forget to activate notifications so you never miss our weekly uploads. Stay safe out there.